Imagine expecting another ordinary royal anniversary, only to discover that one quiet decision changed the conversation across Britain before the day was even over. For years, Princess Diana's birthday had been remembered with carefully written palace statements, respectful tributes, and little public emotion. Most people believed her 65th birthday would follow that same familiar pattern. But this time, something completely unexpected happened. It wasn't announced by Buckingham Palace. It wasn't planned by royal advisors. And it didn't involve a grand ceremony or television cameras. Instead, a young member of the royal family, someone who never even had the chance to meet Diana, made a deeply personal choice that caught everyone by surprise. As word quietly spread, royal insiders, commentators, and ordinary visitors all began asking the same question. Had this simple act revealed more about Diana's lasting legacy than years of official tributes ever could? And when Prince William reportedly learned what had happened, his response added an emotional new chapter to a story the royal family has spent decades trying to protect. What unfolded on that summer afternoon wasn't about headlines or publicity. It was about memory, family, and the enduring influence of a woman whose impact continues to shape the monarchy nearly 3 decades after her passing. For nearly 3 decades, the first day of July has carried a meaning that reaches far beyond the royal family. It marks the birthday of Princess Diana, a woman whose influence never truly disappeared, even after her tragic death in 1997. Every year, as the date approaches, royal watchers expect some kind of acknowledgement. Usually, that recognition is quiet, a carefully written statement, a photograph from the archives, or a brief reminder of her charitable work. Nothing dramatic, nothing unexpected. The institution has long preferred to remember Diana with dignity rather than spectacle, allowing the day to pass without inviting fresh controversy or public debate. By 2026, that pattern had become almost predictable. Diana's 65th birthday was expected to be no different. Royal correspondents anticipated a short palace message. Newspapers prepared retrospective articles. Television presenters planned brief segments reflecting on her remarkable life before moving on to the next headline. Even devoted followers of the monarchy assumed July 1st would quietly slip by, just as it had for many years. But history has a way of changing direction when nobody expects it. Long before anyone realized something unusual had happened, the royal family's official schedule appeared perfectly ordinary. Members of the family continued with their planned engagements across Britain. Public appearances were arranged weeks in advance, as they always are. Behind the scenes, palace staff followed carefully organized diaries designed to keep everything running with precision. Nothing suggested that one quiet decision would soon become the biggest royal conversation of the week. To understand why this moment carried such emotional weight, it's important to remember how Princess Diana has been remembered over the years. Following her death, the royal family faced one of the most difficult periods in its modern history. Millions of people around the world mourned her loss, while the monarchy itself struggled to balance tradition with overwhelming public emotion. As the years passed, Diana's image gradually transformed from a controversial royal figure into an almost universal symbol of compassion. Her work with children, hospitals, homelessness, landmine awareness, and people living with serious illnesses continued inspiring new generations who had never even seen her during her lifetime. For Prince William and Prince Harry, however, July 1st has never simply been another date on the calendar. It represents memories of their mother that belong to them personally, away from cameras and headlines. Both brothers have spoken over the years about choosing private reflection instead of public ceremonies whenever possible. One of the few major exceptions came in 2021. On what would have been Diana's 60th birthday, William and Harry stood together in the sunken garden at Kensington Palace to unveil a bronze statue honoring their mother. At the time, their relationship had already become strained, making their appearance together particularly meaningful. For many observers, it felt like a rare moment where personal grief outweighed family disagreements. Since then, every following anniversary had become quieter once again. No major ceremonies, no elaborate celebrations, simply respectful remembrance. That consistency made what happened in 2026 feel even more unexpected. Interestingly, the person at the center of this story wasn't Prince William, Prince Harry, King Charles, or any senior working royal. Instead, Attention gradually shifted towards someone who rarely appears on newspaper front pages at all: Lady Louise Windsor. Unlike many members of the royal family, Louise has spent most of her life away from constant media attention. Born in 2003, 6 years after Diana's passing, she never had the opportunity to meet the Princess of Wales. Unlike William and Harry, she has no personal memories of Diana's voice, her laughter, or the private moments shared within the family. Yet despite never knowing Diana personally, Louise grew up hearing stories that shaped the family's history. She understood who Diana had been. She understood what she represented. And perhaps most importantly, she understood why July 1st mattered. As the daughter of Prince Edward and Sophie, Duchess of Edinburgh, Louise has largely enjoyed a quieter royal upbringing than many of her cousins. Her parents deliberately chose a more private path, allowing their children to experience life with fewer public expectations. While other young royals often found themselves surrounded by photographers, Louise focused on school, family, and personal interests. Those who have worked alongside her frequently describe the same qualities: calm, polite, hardworking, and remarkably humble. Friends from the equestrian world often note that she prefers being treated like everyone else rather than receiving special attention because of her royal title. Her greatest passion has long been carriage driving, a sport deeply connected to her late grandfather, Prince Philip. While many people associate royalty with glamorous receptions and grand ceremonies, Louise is often happiest spending hours around horses, preparing equipment, or helping behind the scenes without seeking recognition. That quiet personality became one of the defining reasons this story captured so much public attention. Nobody expected Lady Louise to become the focus of Diana's birthday. In fact, most people barely noticed her schedule at all. As the 17th in line to the throne, Louise rarely dominates royal headlines. Her engagements receive modest coverage compared with those of William, Catherine, or other senior members of the family, which is exactly why the first clue passed almost unnoticed. Several days before July 1st, Louise reportedly requested that her calendar remain clear after the early afternoon. It wasn't considered unusual. Royal schedules change constantly because of travel, family obligations, and private commitments. No explanation was requested. No speculation followed. Staff simply adjusted her diary. From the outside, it appeared to be another routine scheduling change. But by late afternoon, those seemingly ordinary arrangements would begin attracting unexpected attention. First, it wasn't because anyone had seen Louise. It was because people realized she was missing from an engagement where she had quietly been expected to appear. Family members continued with official duties. Events proceeded normally. Yet Louise was nowhere to be found. There were no photographers searching for her, no television crews waiting, no official palace announcement explaining her absence. In truth, almost nobody noticed, until ordinary visitors began sharing something unexpected. Without realizing its significance, people spending time in Kensington Gardens that afternoon observed a young woman walking quietly through one of the area's most meaningful locations connected to Diana's legacy. She wasn't surrounded by large security teams. She wasn't followed by television cameras. There was no press conference, no official photographers, no prepared speech waiting to be released afterward. Instead, witnesses described someone moving through the gardens with remarkable simplicity, almost blending into the crowd rather than standing apart from it. For several minutes, few recognized who she actually was. And that quiet anonymity would soon become one of the most powerful parts of the entire story. Because what Lady Louise chose to do next would transform an ordinary royal anniversary into one of the most talked about moments of the summer, leaving royal commentators asking whether one deeply personal gesture had communicated more than years of carefully planned official tributes ever could. And once word of that private visit finally reached Prince William, the emotional significance of the day became impossible for anyone inside, or outside, the royal family to ignore. As the afternoon quietly unfolded, families filled the paths around Kensington Gardens just as they did every summer. Children laughed as they ran toward the playground inspired by Peter Pan. Tourists paused to admire the surrounding gardens, and visitors wandered through one of London's most familiar royal landmarks. For everyone there, it seemed like another peaceful summer day. No one expected that a member of the royal family was about to arrive without ceremony. Unlike official royal engagements, there were no barriers, no carefully arranged press positions, and no photographers waiting for the perfect shot. There was no palace timetable announcing that someone important would be visiting. In fact, if people noticed Lady Louise at all, most simply assumed she was another visitor enjoying the afternoon. That was exactly what made the moment so different. According to accounts shared by people who were present, Louise walked quietly toward the area connected to Princess Diana's memorial. She didn't hurry. She didn't appear to be looking around to see who was watching. Instead, she moved with the kind of calm confidence that suggested this visit wasn't meant for anyone else's approval. For a young woman who had spent her entire life avoiding unnecessary public attention, the decision felt surprisingly personal. Witnesses later recalled seeing her pause near the flowers that visitors had already left in memory of Diana. Some bouquets looked fresh, while others had begun to fade after sitting under the summer sun. Small handwritten notes rested beside them, each carrying personal messages from people who still remembered the Princess of Wales with affection nearly 3 decades after her passing. Louise reportedly stood there in silence for several moments. No speech, no announcement, no cameras recording every movement, just silence. Sometimes silence says more than carefully prepared words ever can. After a few quiet moments, she reportedly placed her own handwritten card among the flowers before stepping back. No one has publicly revealed what the message said, and perhaps that is exactly as it should remain. Whatever thoughts she chose to write were never intended for newspaper headlines or television debates. They were simply left there as a private tribute. Observers later described her sitting on a nearby bench for some time, looking across the gardens without speaking to anyone around her. There was no visible attempt to attract attention. If anything, she seemed determined not to interrupt the ordinary afternoon unfolding around her. Ironically, that effort to remain unnoticed became impossible once social media entered the picture. One visitor, unaware of the wider significance, recorded a short video while filming the memorial area. Only later did viewers recognize Lady Louise in the background. The clip quickly began circulating online, with royal followers pointing out that one of the monarchy's quietest members had chosen to spend part of Diana's birthday in complete privacy. The footage wasn't dramatic. There were no emotional speeches, no royal procession, no carefully choreographed ceremony, and perhaps that simplicity became its greatest strength. As the video spread across social media platforms, people began discussing the contrast between this quiet personal visit and the official approach traditionally taken by the palace. Many commented that the gesture felt sincere precisely because it appeared unplanned and deeply personal rather than organized for public attention. Royal commentators soon joined the conversation. Some suggested that Louise's actions reflected a younger generation's understanding of public service, one that places greater value on authenticity than carefully managed appearances. Others argued that the visit unintentionally reminded people why Diana herself had remained so popular. Throughout her life, Diana often surprised palace officials by making unexpected visits to hospitals, shelters, and charities without seeking publicity. She frequently chose personal interaction over formal ceremony, believing genuine human connection mattered more than royal tradition. Whether intentional or not, many observers felt Louise's quiet visit echoed that same spirit. Of course, comparisons between the two women should be made carefully. Louise has always built her own identity rather than attempting to imitate anyone else. Still, the similarities in that single afternoon became difficult for many people to ignore. The conversation quickly expanded beyond the visit itself. People began asking why such a simple gesture had created such an emotional response. Perhaps the answer lay not in what Louise did, but in how she did it. There were no carefully selected photographs released afterward, no exclusive interviews, no official statement explaining her intentions. The palace itself reportedly made no special mention of her visit when acknowledging Diana's birthday. The official communication remained brief and formal, following the familiar style that had defined previous anniversaries. Yet online discussions focused almost entirely on Louise. For many members of the public, her quiet appearance seemed to capture something they felt had been missing from official commemorations. Rather than presenting Diana as a historical figure remembered through carefully written statements, the visit suggested that her influence still existed within the younger generation of the royal family. That idea resonated with people across Britain and beyond. Comment sections quickly filled with messages praising Louise for keeping the moment private. Some admired her humility. Others appreciated that she hadn't attempted to make herself the center of attention. Many simply expressed surprise that someone who had never even met Diana appeared to understand the emotional significance of the day. As public interest continued growing, attention naturally shifted toward Prince William. For years, William has carried the responsibility of preserving his mother's legacy while balancing his duties as the future king. Every public discussion about Diana inevitably leads back to him. Understandably, many people wondered how he might react after learning about Louise's unexpected visit. Reports soon began circulating that William had been informed about what had happened later that day. Although the palace offered no official comment, several royal observers suggested that he appreciated the deeply personal nature of Louise's gesture. Unlike highly publicized royal events, this visit had not been designed to generate headlines. It simply reflected one individual's decision to honor someone whose influence continued reaching across generations. That distinction mattered. William has often spoken about remembering Diana not only as a global figure but as his mother. Behind every public tribute exists a private family story that the world never fully sees. Because of that, many believed he would naturally understand why an unplanned act of remembrance might carry more emotional weight than an official ceremony. Whether those reports accurately reflected private conversations inside the family remains impossible to confirm. What can be said is that the public response was undeniable. Newspapers featured photographs of the memorial. Television discussions examined the significance of Louise's visit. Royal experts debated whether younger members of the monarchy were beginning to shape Diana's legacy in new and unexpected ways. Yet perhaps the most remarkable part of the entire story remained this simple fact. Lady Louise had never set out to create a headline. She had not announced her plans. She had not invited reporters. She had not asked anyone to notice. And yet, through one quiet afternoon in Kensington Gardens, she had unintentionally reminded millions of people that sometimes the most meaningful royal moments are the ones that happen far away from official ceremonies. What nobody realized at the time, however, was that this single visit would soon spark an even larger conversation, one that reached beyond Princess Diana herself and raised unexpected questions about the future of the royal family, the younger generation, and who will ultimately shape Diana's legacy in the years still to come. As the days following July 1st unfolded, the conversation surrounding Lady Louise's quiet visit refused to disappear. Normally, royal headlines move quickly. One engagement replaces another. A new announcement takes over the news cycle, and yesterday's story quietly fades into the background. But this time felt different. Instead of disappearing, the discussion kept growing. Television panels revisited the story. Royal commentators continued offering their perspectives. Across social media, thousands of people shared photographs of Princess Diana alongside recent images of Lady Louise, reflecting on how one quiet afternoon had unexpectedly reopened conversations about memory, compassion, and the future of the monarchy. Interestingly, the debate was never really about flowers or handwritten notes. It became something much larger. For years, many people have wondered how Diana's legacy would evolve as time moved forward. Every new generation of the royal family grows further removed from knowing her personally. Eventually, there will come a time when no working royal has direct memories of the Princess of Wales. That reality raises an important question. How do you preserve the legacy of someone you never actually knew? For Lady Louise, that question may have found its own quiet answer. She wasn't remembering childhood experiences. She wasn't revisiting personal conversations. She wasn't honoring someone who had watched her grow up. Instead, she appeared to be recognizing the extraordinary influence one individual could continue having decades after her passing. Perhaps that was what resonated with so many people. Throughout history, the strongest legacies rarely survive because institutions protect them. They survive because ordinary people continue telling the stories, remembering the kindness, and passing those memories to future generations. Princess Diana's story has often followed exactly that path. Even people born years after her death recognize her humanitarian work, her warmth with children, and her willingness to comfort those society frequently overlooked. Those qualities have become part of her public identity, extending far beyond royal history. In many ways, Lady Louise belongs to the first generation of royals who inherited Diana's legacy through stories rather than personal memories. That alone made her gesture feel deeply symbolic. Many royal observers also reflected on Louise's upbringing. Unlike Prince William and Prince Harry, she was raised largely outside the intense public spotlight. Her parents worked deliberately to provide as normal a childhood as possible while still respecting royal responsibilities. She attended school with relatively little media attention, pursued her own interests, and gradually developed a reputation for humility rather than celebrity. That quieter path shaped public perception. People didn't view Louise as someone seeking attention. They viewed her as someone who had consistently avoided it, which made her unexpected appearance feel even more authentic. Some commentators argued that this represented a broader shift within the younger generation of the royal family. Rather than relying entirely on formal ceremonies and official statements, younger royals may increasingly connect with the public through smaller, more personal moments. Whether that prediction proves accurate remains to be seen, but one thing became increasingly clear. The public responded strongly to sincerity. The reaction also reminded many people of something Diana herself had understood remarkably well. During her lifetime, she often demonstrated that genuine human connection could leave a deeper impression than elaborate royal traditions. Whether comforting hospital patients, visiting homeless shelters, or simply kneeling to speak with children at eye level, Diana understood that people remembered authenticity. That quality helped define her public image. Decades later, many observers believed Louise's quiet visit unintentionally reflected that same understanding. Not because she attempted to imitate Diana, but because she chose simplicity over spectacle. There is another layer to this story that deserves attention. Royal history is often written through major events: coronations, royal weddings, state funerals, historic speeches. Yet sometimes the moments people remember most are surprisingly small. A handshake, a smile, a visit no one expected, a handwritten message left without any intention of making headlines. Those are the moments that often reveal character more clearly than grand ceremonies ever could. Whether history ultimately remembers Lady Louise's visit as a defining royal moment remains impossible to predict, but its emotional impact is already evident. It reminded people that influence isn't measured only by titles or position within the line of succession. Louise is not among the monarchy's most senior working royals. She rarely appears on magazine covers. She almost never dominates national headlines. Yet for one quiet afternoon, she became the center of a conversation that reached far beyond palace walls. That alone says something remarkable. The story also gently shifted attention toward Prince William. Although the day centered around Diana's memory, many people couldn't help wondering how the future king continues balancing public responsibility with private remembrance. For William, every tribute to his mother carries two separate meanings. One belongs to the nation, the other belongs to a son. Those two realities rarely exist without emotion. While official statements often focus on history and public service, personal remembrance is naturally far more complicated. Perhaps that is why so many people found comfort in the simplicity of Louise's gesture. It required no explanation, no interpretation, no carefully crafted speech, just a quiet act of respect. As another July 1st came to an end, the palace continued with its usual responsibilities. Official engagements resumed. Schedules moved forward. The monarchy carried on just as it always has. Yet outside palace walls, many people continued thinking about that peaceful afternoon in Kensington Gardens. Not because it changed history overnight, not because it altered the future of the royal family, but because it reminded people that some legacies cannot be maintained through official announcements alone. They survive because individuals choose to remember. Sometimes those individuals are family members. Sometimes they are complete strangers. And occasionally, they are young women who never had the opportunity to meet the person whose life continues inspiring millions around the world. Perhaps that is the lasting message behind this remarkable story. Princess Diana's legacy no longer belongs only to those who knew her personally. It lives on through every generation willing to carry forward the compassion, kindness, and humanity that defined her public life. Whether Lady Louise intended to send that message or not, Her quiet visit encouraged countless people to reflect once again on what Diana represented, and why nearly 3 decades later, her memory continues to touch hearts across Britain and far beyond. In the end, no grand ceremony was needed, no elaborate celebration, no dramatic announcement, just one quiet visit, one handwritten card, one thoughtful act, and a reminder that sometimes the most powerful stories are the ones told without saying very much at all. If this story touched you, take a moment to think about why Princess Diana's legacy continues to resonate with people around the world after all these years. Whether you admire her compassion, her courage, or the way she connected with ordinary people, there's no denying that her influence is still being felt today. And if Lady Louise's quiet tribute has shown us anything, it's that acts of kindness don't have to be grand to leave a lasting impact. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you believe Lady Louise's private visit was one of the most heartfelt tributes to Princess Diana in recent years? Or do you think the royal family should do more to publicly honor Diana's memory? Share your opinion in the comments below because your perspective is part of this conversation. If you enjoyed this story and want more in-depth coverage of the royal family, exclusive royal updates, and fascinating behind-the-scenes stories, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss our latest videos. If you found this video meaningful, please give it a thumbs up and share it with friends and family who follow royal news. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.